Hi, everybody. Welcome to The Right Conversation with Shari Pheasant, where we talk about the hard stuff. I get into the real good things that you really want to hear when you listen into conversations with people. Look, communication isn't the biggest problem on a team. The biggest problem on a team is not having the right conversation soon enough. And the right conversation is really about 5 factors. Talking to the right person about the right thing at the right time, with the right tone and intonation, and with the right intentions. So join me for the right conversations that I have with my guests, and you get to hear all about the hard stuff. You're going to love this. So let's dig in. Hi, everybody. Shari Pheasant here for The Right Conversation. And today we are going to talk to Bryce Evans. Bryce is the founder of Auto Service Leader, an amazing new magazine and online portal where leaders can go to learn about how to lead in today's world and so much more. I'm really excited to have him here. He's a great conversationalist as well. Mr. Bryce Evans, welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. How could we not? You've been having conversations all over the country with auto shop leaders, talking about what's going on in their shops, what's happening in business, and what's happening with their employees. What are you experiencing?
You know, it's been really fun and exciting to jump back in to this industry and start talking to people in this space. A lot of people I've known for a long time, some people that are new and fresh, and it's interesting how so many of them have very different, unique stories, very unique backgrounds, very unique journeys to get to where they are today. But a lot of the things that have helped make them successful and some of the strategies that they utilize, the leadership philosophies that they have and embody with their teams are all pretty universal, and really a lot of people can learn from each other. That's kind of the essence of what we're trying to build and show is these are people doing great things, and this is how you can do it too. And it's just fun and always engaging to hear from people like that, like yourself when we did an interview with you. It's always nice to get that feedback, that information, and learn about other people's stories.
And I love your perspective. My husband came home with your magazine and said, "Hey, I know a lot of people in here." I started looking through it and I didn't get very far in, and I went, "Oh," because he didn't say it. And I read the first sentence, right? Business and woo-woo, there's Shari. And the last sentence, take a look in the mirror. And I thought, wow, they can really pull out the tidbits and lay them down. That was very good. I'm sure all of you have read that magazine. And I just want you to know I mean it. Oh, 100%. It is about having tough conversations. And so let's dive into one. Now, I will find out a little bit more about you, but I really want to. I found this article recently. I love looking up leadership stats, seeing how they change, what's going on with them. And this was titled 25 Leadership Statistics that are surprising. And one of the things that as I read into the story is that leaders in organizations see that leadership is important, large percentage, more than back in 2011, let's say. And they know that CEOs say that it's challenging that for us to find our next generation. So A, it's important. B, it's a tough one. We should probably pay attention, kind of like cancer. And then yet 63% of our millennials say they're not being fully developed. What do you find? You're having conversations. Look, I always say it's not communication that's the problem on the team. If you think that's the problem, your head's in the sand. It's really about having the right conversation, hence the podcast title. And it's about digging into talking about the tough stuff. And that's the right person about the right thing. Bryce, you are the right person, and this is the right thing. What do you think? What are you hearing? What's going on?
Sure. I think it's a handful of things. One, I think is there's a gap with most leaders and people who are running businesses, leading teams, between what their intention is and what their action is in terms of leading and developing people. I think all of us as leaders have this great intention behind it and really want to do these great things for our teams, have ideas of how we can build people up, how we can grow people, how we can train them, how we can offer all these different things and pass along and really raise the floor for them and their careers and what they're able to do. And then all of a sudden you have, if we're using a shop example, you have someone calling sick, and all of a sudden you're jumping into the bay and helping out, or you're jumping at the front counter and helping, or this customer's angry and you're dealing with that. And things kind of get pushed. It's very easy at times to push some of those internal conversations and internal strategies and things you're working on to deal with the external factors that you feel like are more important right in front of you. And I think some of the people that I've talked to that seem to do this better than others always prioritize their team first. And you hear a lot of people talk about kind of their core values and principles, and where, you know, it's customer, then team, then whatever, listing their order. And a lot of the people who talk about team first are usually the people that usually have a little bit more success with it. And I find it interesting too, the millennial statistic as well, in that I do think there's sometimes a disconnect in terms of where people have been in their careers and what was acceptable and good for a leader and engaging, and what now is considered a little bit more effective and good and helpful for a team. I think younger generations expect a lot more of it. And even if you're a leader today and you've been in business 30, 40 years, you might be doing way more of it now, but it's probably maybe still not that standard that they're expecting.
No, because it's changed, right? And we all love change. Change is easy. We all do it so easily. Not really. So I can see that. And I love what you said about intention and action, right? It really is the fifth step to having the right conversation is the right intentions. And it's not to demean me, put me down, put me in my place, assert your power and authority or your knowledge over me, right? It's to develop me. It's to support me. It's to help me. And so those intentions aren't spoken, they're felt. It's energy. It happens from the heart. It happens with feelings. And we know that most business owners tend to be in the behavioral, right? Very much they're direct influencers, they're drivers, they're reactive in their behavioral styles. Although in the automotive industry, Bryce, you've probably found this, that many of our owners are not your typical leadership style and behaviors. Their styles are more like the innovative leader versus the extroverted leader. It's the introverted leader. And so I think that might create a little bit of a gap there for them on how to lead.
Sure. And I do, to your point, I think a lot of people picture the gregarious, extroverted leader standing up, making speeches, motivating people on a daily basis, and really building them up in that very outgoing way as what a leader is. And I do think that's putting too much pressure on yourself as a leader and doing something outside of your own personality. Because I think, you know, motivation is great, but it's a short term. It's like a spark to light something else. And if there isn't something else to light and something else that's there, it's just going to fade away and not work. I'm not sure where I heard this, but there's a saying that your environment is more important than the motivation behind things. And that if you set things up as a culture and as a team, and you're doing the right things with the right intentions and have action behind those intentions and actually following through on it, it's more important than the kind of the rah-rah aspect of it.
So, right, behavior versus mindset. Does mindset come first or behavior come first? There's that debate that happens. And many people will find that you have to have the mindset to have the right behavior, because you can have the behavior, but it's a very shallow, fake behavior. It's not the true reality of the behavior that the mindset can bring to it. I think that's the same thing that you were just talking about, internal versus external. 100%.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's that intentionality to it, and that if you're an introverted leader, there's no problem in that. As long as you're being earnest with people, they understand where you're coming from, they understand you care and have the support that you're giving and have their best interests in mind. That's what people are looking at far more than someone who's going to pump them up and get them ready to run through a brick wall. Usually it's that support system and the belief
Well, that's
and the
because you
why
want
and
something.
Yeah,
That's because
right.
typically you want something. You want your numbers bigger. You want your KPIs to be met. You want your productivity or your production, right? Margins or your goals to be met. And it's different than developing someone. And when you develop it, so it takes longer, internal versus external. So as a master in axiology and a behavioral science person that uses this with teams, I think we think we're one thing and we're really not, we're another. I think that our earthly conditioning, right, what we've been in, our environment teaches us to mask. I just got back from the Women Auto Care Conference, and 75% of the women, when asked, because I asked them, of course I did, how many of you are masking daily? at least weekly at your role in your job? And 75% of them raised their hand. And by the way, there were men in the audience and they raised their hand too. I even had a gentleman who said, I have not had a conversation with a senior leader. I've been there for 4 years. That's what's happening. And I think the leaders tell themselves that it's different. They certainly tell the person they report to, whether it's the CEO or the VP or the director or the manager or the senior manager, or whatever the titles are. They tell them that it's all going okay, and it's not. So Bryce, what are we going to do? It's a gap. We're spreading apart. How can we engage the new workforce? And more importantly, how can we help leaders understand that the old way, you've got to change from it, and there's a way to do that, and you've got to make an investment to make that happen, of time, money, whatever that is, right? Mindset.
Right. I think, there are simple things people can do. One is building out a strategy and a routine to have actual communication with people. I can say that in past roles, that was something that was a huge burden, isn't the right word, because you want to have those conversations and do it, but the pressure of doing it is kind of the burden. And I used to schedule out, I'd have a name on my calendar each day, and that would be the person that day I would go and seek out and say something to that was kind of off the cuff, not related to something I just assigned to them, not related to a project that was due, nothing like that, but just something I could go up and I would it would force myself to think
See
about
them. Well, see them, make them feel seen,
and go and point it out and just say, great job for that. That was really awesome. You did that. And people might only get them. Maybe it ends up being once every other week or something like that based on it. But outside of regular assignments and regular meetings and those sorts of things, but they remember those interactions. If they happen routinely, they feel like you're paying attention and watching. And I know,
well, they do. And
yeah,
Bryce, once every 2 weeks, then you see them in the kitchen or on their way out of the bathroom or down in the hallway, and you smile, or out in the parking lot, and all of those start connecting together with everything else. And so, and you have children. We talked about that before. My children are grown, maybe even your age, 32, 34. And I have grandchildren now, but I used to always tell them, look, it's really important that you think about your intention when you talk with people, and that you connect, because until you care about them, they're not going to care about you. And that's important in leadership. It's really about they always say leaders were at the top, employees at the bottom. I don't believe that anymore. If anything, leaders are at the bottom. It's how are we serving? And I created what I call the leadership circle, and the leaders in the middle of all of the things that lead to an innovative culture where everyone's heard and everyone's happy and the company's making more money. It's just hard. We're combining soft skills and hard skills. As you said in the first sentence, Shari's not afraid, right, to put business and woo-woo in the same box.
Right. I like the circle analogy a lot on that. And it's also, and you mentioned the comparison to your children too, in that your kids aren't looking for these grand gestures all the time. They're not looking for presents or to be taken out and do things. They're just looking to see that you care and that you're there and having conversations. And when they talk to you, you actually listen. And it's the same thing with leading teams too. They're not looking for you to have an answer every time they come with a problem. They're not looking for you to diffuse every situation and push them forward, find their next job, whatever it happens to be. They just want to know when they come to you, you're there and actually listening and paying attention. And when you say you're going to do something, you do it. And we all know from kids, they might forget a million times you told them to do X, Y, Z. But if you said they get to do something, they'll remember that 4 weeks later that you said on April 3rd of 2025, we'll get to go to
at 3:04 p.m.
Yep, and they'll remember that one. And it's the same kind of thing, to where you say you're going to do something that will either help them or support them or do something for someone on your team, and you don't do it. That's where the trust fails. You lose as much of it by what you don't do than a lot of the poor leadership and things that you see.
I agree. And the other side of that conversation is to the workforce, that when the leaders are vulnerable, when they are transparent, that you can't turn into a hyena and eat them alive. Right. Think you can do their job better or get them ousted from their job. You get a lot of those people dynamics. I think it's hard to be what I like to call naked. Right. It is what it is. No sucking it in, no posing. It just is what it is. And to learn to support each other in our weak moments. When I'm failing, help me, support me, let me know. And I get it. My personality style, you're right. Sometimes you have to hit me upside the head. Go ahead. Just warn me first. Have that conversation first that, hey, I've told you a couple times you're not listening, and boom, here it is. And I'm okay with that. Now, another style may not be. That's why I believe in using predictive technology with teams. They help identify your behavior styles, your drivers, right? How to motivate you, how to manage you. What are your time wasters? I always tell everybody, if I could save you an hour, would that work? That's really right. But that's my hook for them, because everyone wants to save time. Not everybody's comfortable getting naked, like figuring out, what is my style? What am I good at? How do I like to be communicated to? What's my value to the team? What are my stressors? Yet when you know each other yourself, then you can lean into other people. Have you spent time getting to know yourself as a leader as well, Bryce?
I try to. Yeah. I think I've always kind of prided myself on as much as I can, and anyone can be, is being self-aware about it. And you talk about it made me think of kind of an exercise I do with my teams, and we do it here at Far Insure Auto Service Leader. And I put something about it in the magazine, but I call it the 3-circle exercise, and you're looking at your talents and abilities, things that you're good at, your things in life that you enjoy and where you get passion and where you get excited about, and then ways that you can have impact on other people. Those are the 3 different circles. And in the middle of that is kind of your purpose and what you're working toward. And this is something that I've used at different times in my career to kind of evaluate where I'm at, what I want to do, where I'm going. It's a very simple, quick thing you can do, and it evolves with you because your talents change, what you're passionate about changes, your ability to impact people changes. And it allows you to very simply break down in a way of who you are and what's important to you and what you can offer to other people. And I'd have people on the team always do that, and they'd fill it out, and I can get a better idea of what drives and motivates them and what they see as their purpose in their work, and then how we can best utilize things, how we can help them improve. But I would also share my own with them. You're talking about kind of being that vulnerable leader, and I think a lot of times people do worry about that hyena mentality that you said. And part of it's because your people don't understand you any better than you understand them. When people have that disconnect of,
or yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't understand yourself as a leader and what you're after and what your purpose is and what you're pursuing. It's really hard to understand and relate to other people about theirs. And so that was just a quick thing we used to always do. And we still do it on a regular basis.
I like it. Great nuggets. Now, we're getting towards the end of our conversation today. I'm going to ask you at the end, I ask everybody, Bryce, that just one thing. If you were to leave everybody with just one thing, I don't want you to answer it yet, but I want you to think about it. What would that be? What I want to tell everybody about, again, is the 3 circles. I think this is a really cool model that you can bring into your team to open up the right conversations with them, to get them to be vulnerable, to get to know them, and to just have some purpose that you share with each other, because that's energizing. You've been well known in the industry for a long time, Bryce. You've been on a new adventure. You were in your last venture for a decade with let's see, it's called 10 Missions Media, right? That you were there. And what's the biggest takeaway when you stay somewhere that long? There's a lot of things that happen and a lot of lessons that you learn. What is your biggest takeaway from that experience that you brought to where you are today?
I think my biggest takeaway, and it was a realization when I was there, but also something that's built up over the years, but that what you do and how you present yourself and the work that you produce and what you pursue, I talked about kind of looking at your own purpose. It just has to be authentic to who you are. I think when you stray from that and you stray from kind of your principles or integrity or what you just think is right and purposeful and meaningful work to produce and how you can help people, once you start to stray from that, everything else kind of suffers. And it's very hard to motivate yourself to deliver in a positive way and to help other people on your team. And to me, I guess my journey in my career and where I am today, I hope that I've been able to build on that at every step, and it not only improve my skill set, my knowledge and experience, all of that, but also become more and more true to myself and how I'm working. And I feel like what I'm doing today with Auto Service Leader, what my team is building, what they're working on, and what we are hopefully going to share even more with the industry and with people out there as we release some more things in the coming months, is more of a reflection of who we are and what we believe.
Well, I love the model that you have for Auto Services Leader, and I think that's a great takeaway from an experience that lasted a decade for you. I see that you love technology, you love leadership, you love people, and you're really putting it together in the best manner possible. Share with us just a little bit about what your model is at Auto Service Leader, and why you put it together, and what people can gain from it.
Definitely. Well, so the way that we have positioned it and the way we built it out is it's essentially kind of flipping the business model of traditional business publishing on its head. And that what we're trying to do is have everything that we're building focused entirely on the audience and the end user of our products and the people hopefully gaining information from what we share. Because of that, it's a membership based system. So you get a subscription to the publication, it gets you access to our digital hub as well. We pride ourselves on being kind of this objective third party that can gather this information, bring it together, and you can get perspectives and information from people from all corners of the industry. We think that it's something unique and different and really fills a gap as far as information in the industry that's out there. We kind of see that you have your dynamic coaching groups and the information, the one-on-one help you get. You have a true source of information, support, and mentorship there. And then you have traditional trade publications that also can offer some very good information on kind of passive interaction that you get once a month in the mail. And then we're hoping to fill that gap in between and really be that true on-demand resource for shop owners, operators, future leaders in the industry to really push themselves forward and hopefully grow their teams and grow their businesses.
I love that you're there for everyone else. You're there for the end user, and video is king. I think you're right. Right? You've got the regular medium, but newspapers are going away. We don't even see a telephone book anymore. And not that that's reading material, but it's printed material on paper that you don't have anymore because you can grab it from technology. So it's being replaced. And so I see that you're jumping into technology, still keeping the traditional around. You're reading your audience, I perfectly believe, 100% with that. And then putting them together, because if you can read something and then go and consume a video and have access where it's on demand for you of what you need, that can be one of the most resourceful tools for learning today.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that's definitely the hope. And we want it to be people can get the information they need in the format that they need it, that they learn best, and can get that information.
Well, I love that, Bryce. And so what do you think? Just one thing. We're at that point. I want to invite you back. Love talking to you. Love leadership. Love the new ideas. And you're a great conversationalist. You're willing to have the right conversation, and I appreciate that. So on that note, if you want to leave my listeners with just one thing from you that you want them to remember and take away, what is that today?
Sure. I would actually say, and it's one of kind of the principles of our publication and the brand that we've built, is that everybody in wherever they are right now in their careers and in their journey is capable of achieving these things that all these other people have too. I think for me, that's my favorite part about telling those stories and hearing them and listening to them, is every single one of them started in the same place all of us are in, or whoever's listening might be in right now, of thinking they can't get to that point, that I'm not so-and-so, I can't do that. And they were you before they became them, if that makes sense. And that everyone can believe that they have the potential to do that. And the reason that we're listening to these stories and want to share them is to hopefully raise the floor to make it that much easier and simpler for people to also get to that level too.
Influencing human capital potential. I love it, Bryce. That's amazing. That is just one thing, and that's a big thing. Thank you for joining me today, Bryce. It's been amazing. I have loved talking to you. I'm learning more about how you think and and what you've experienced. And you really are transparent. You're a great leader. So I'm really encouraged to see what you're going to be doing in this industry.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. And everyone, stay tuned because I'll see you on the inside. Thanks for joining me for that conversation. My goal is to change the world one conversation at a time. I hope you'll join me for other podcast guests while we talk about the hard stuff and really dig in. If you love what you hear, like, share, and repost so we can grow this podcast. I hope to see you on the inside.